Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my October TBR. So for October, I really like the idea of just throwing out a bunch of titles that were calling out to me and kind of treating it almost as like this giant like snack bowl of things that I could choose to like read. I don't think I'll get to every single one of these, especially some of the books that I have like on hold from my libraries, but these are the ones that I'm kind of like looking at, and then from like here on I can just like narrow down my choices depending on like what I'm in the mood for, like what I'm currently vibing with. But these are kind of what I'm looking at in general. Like a lot of people, I'm kind of going with like creepy kind of goth atmospheric type stories. I mean, that's kind of generally what I like to read naturally, but I'm kind of really trying to focus on those specific like vibes and like moods for the month. So that's kind of what I'm going with. Again, this TBR is not so different from what I usually read anyways, but I just thought I'd throw it out there that that's kind of what I was in the mood for. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started. First, I want to read off of the loans that have come in from my library. I use 2 different libraries to get like audiobooks, so I only have 14 days to read some of these, and some of these have come in like early, so I have even less time than usual to get to them. The first one I have is Bone Cross by Patricia Briggs. This is the 4th book in the Mercy Thompson series. This is about a half Native American woman. I believe her father was part of the Blackfeet Nation. She can actually shift into a coyote like at will. In this world, vampires and werewolves and fae and ghosts exist. Some of these creatures have like come out of the metaphorical closet, and they're in this like weird cultural political limbo where people don't really know what to do with them, and I really like seeing that throughout the series. That's not like the main point of the series. Each book we follow like an individual mystery with Mercy Thompson like as our central character, obviously. Each book has progressively gotten better. Mercy also recently went through some traumatic events in the last book, so I'm excited to see like her growth and how she's gonna like cope with some of the stuff that happened in the last book. So I don't know like the individual mystery to this book, but it'll probably include some sort of supernatural character like they always do. So on audiobook, I also have Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This is, I want to say, a book that kind of plays with these teen detective tropes that you find in like the Hardy Boys and specifically Scooby-Doo. It looks like we have a group of kids here. Maybe they have like a dog sidekick and they like solve this kind of spooky supernatural crime. Don't really know much more than that. I kind of vaguely remember having or hearing like mixed reviews for this book, which is unfortunate, but if the premise is something that I haven't really read before, I'm willing to kind of like ignore reviews. Mind you, I typically don't even read reviews, but I remember being so hyped for this one, hearing the mixed reviews and being kind of sad about that, but I'm still gonna pick it up either way. So I also have Lady Smoke by Laura Sebastian. This is the 2nd book in the Ash Princess series. I read the 1st book in the series in September, and I'll talk about that in my wrap up, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I feel like this series isn't talked about. I've seen like aesthetic photos of this, but I don't think the series is talked about like a lot. I think I've maybe seen like one booktuber like hype it up, which is really unfortunate because I think the series kind of got one of those bad raps where it's like, oh, this is just like about a princess who wants to take back her kingdom, which yeah, admittedly is like a kind of been there done that plot, but I was really surprised about how well this was done. The character growth and the struggles that our main character, had to go through in the 1st book was like so good and really well done, and I couldn't put this book down. This is definitely like an under-talked series. I don't know if I would say underrated, but it's definitely something that I think a lot of people would enjoy. They just probably haven't picked it up. I also have Jacoby by William Ritter. I don't know much about this one, but I want to say this is set during the Victorian era. Spooky mysteries, and there's like a duo trying to like solve these mysteries. Don't know much other than that. The plot kind of seems, again, like basic, straightforward, but every time I see this book like on the shelves or like when I'm scrolling through my like library catalog, it always seems so interesting to me. The cover is like really pleasing to my eye. I also borrowed Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This is the same author who wrote the One of Us is Lying series. I enjoyed the 1st one. Thought the 2nd one was like okay, but I do like her teen mystery thrillers or whatever. I think they're entertaining enough. So I saw that this had like a short like waiting list, so I just thought I'd pick it up. I'm not sure if this book follows her characters from the other One of Us is Lying series or whatever. The covers look really similar, but I don't think it does. I could be totally wrong. I'm also continuing some books from last month. One book that I didn't get to finish in September and I'm still currently reading right now is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This was a really well-loved book on BookTube for a hot minute. In this, we are following an investigative journalist who is looking into the apparent suicide of a young woman. This young woman's father is this really well-noted kind of almost cult following director who produces and creates these really kind of ominous horror thriller suspense films. No one's really seen them before. This journalist has always had his backup, I guess, in regards to this director. So when his daughter turns up having committed suicide, he thinks something's up. I'm enjoying it enough. Well, so far a lot of the characters seem really pretentious and kind of annoying, but I guess that's like the film industry. I'll definitely finish this because I think the story's fine so far. Nothing has really wowed me. I'm only like 100 pages in so far. I'm also currently in the middle of Failed Future by Lise Kova. This is the third book in the Vortex Chronicles series. The series is kind of hard to explain because it's like a sequel series specifically to Air Awakens, which I absolutely loved. The series takes place in a country where some people have like elemental abilities like fire, water, earth, and our main character Vi is the crown princess. For political reasons, she has not been allowed to grow up in like the capital, and she has not been allowed to grow up with her family or her twin brother. She's currently waiting for her like elemental abilities to awaken, and when they do, they are not the magical abilities that everyone else in the country has. She's something very unique. That's all I can say. Again, this is a sequel series, so I don't suggest people start here. Like, if you want to read the series, I don't think you should start here. If you haven't read Air Awakens, that was a really good series. I'm not loving this series as much as I loved Air Awakens, but I'm gonna continue on because I'm like halfway there already, and I love Elise Kova's work, and I'm hoping that the last few books kind of really tie everything up really, really well. So this next book I actually just hauled in my September book haul, which is going up right now as I film this, and that is Lockwood & Co. The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. The first book in the Lockwood & Co. series. This is a middle grade. This middle grade series takes place where ghosts and like specters have started to, I guess, rise up from the dead, and the only people who can actually see them and interact with these ghosts are children. They have like the psychic energy to do that. So paranormal like investigative teams have started hiring children. We follow Lockwood and Company, which is I think the only company that only employs children. There's like no adult supervision, I'm assuming. I don't know how that works, but yeah, this sounds really perfect for October. There's like ghosts, creepy vibes. I'm assuming there's some sort of mystery, historical setting, which is like just what I need. I think another perfect October read is The Ruins by Scott Smith. From what I hear, this is a really great horror novel. In this we have a few, I guess, young-ish couples that go to Mexico on vacation. I think one of them gets lost, and these people stumble on, I want to say like Aztec ruins or something, and I hear there's a lot of body horror in this, and that's pretty much all I need to know. I know there's like a film adaptation, so if I do finish this, which is a little chunky, I could watch the film adaptation. So this next novel sounds a little like steampunk fantasy Victorian vibes, and it is The Eternophiles by Leanna Renee Hyber. From what I've gathered about this book, following the events of Abraham Lincoln's assassination, the government has created this task force in order to create something to allow sitting presidents to be immortal and invulnerable, which sounds super weird already. I think this task force is almost all like murdered. By who, I don't know. And I think only one person from this task force is still currently alive. And while that's happening in the United States, over in England, we're following a detective who is currently investigating some kind of supernatural crime, and that crime is somehow connected to this task force to create immortal life or whatever. I know this book also has to deal with like the rise of spiritualism in the Victorian era. It sounds really cool, sounds a little goth, which I'm really into. I also saw some like mixed reviews for this one, which is unfortunate, but again, the plot is so unique and something that I haven't really read before that I'm willing to kind of just like overlook that and like form my own opinions, which I always do. I know that going in, maybe I should lower my expectations. So I also want to reread Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a pretty popular sci-fi novel. I've read it once before. This has also been adapted into a movie, which I haven't seen. So if I do get through this, it's a very short novel, I could watch the film finally. This is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy. In this book, we have this area that's been like cut off from the rest of the world for a while now. There has been a few expeditions tasked with like going into this area and like documenting like what is this. Every time a team is sent to this area, it kind of ends badly, either with like the entire team contracting like stage 4 like renal cancer, another team commits mass suicide, so on and so forth. Like it just ends badly. In this book we follow the 12th expedition, which is an all-female crew. I don't think any of the crew members were ever like named. I think they just call each other like the biologist or the anthropologist. And like all the other crews before them, their job is to kind of just catalog and make note of everything they see in this geographical area. That's pretty much it. A lot of like weird shit goes down. I read this book once and I kind of knew, like I know what happened, but like I just need to read it again to like fully digest everything. It's one of those books where like maybe like one read through is like not enough. I have also heard that like once you read the next books, everything kind of just like makes more sense, which maybe is why I need another read through, but it doesn't hurt to like reread how long is it? It's not even 200 pages. I did really enjoy the first read through, but I definitely need another one because it's so weird. I might as well talk about another reread. I have A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. So this is the first book in the Gemma Doyle trilogy. We follow Gemma Doyle, who I think grew up in India and now she's moving back to England after the passing of her mother. She's being sent to like a finishing school or like a girls' boarding school to like learn manners or like sewing or whatever. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I read this one. On the day of her mother's death, she starts finding out certain secrets that her mother kept from her that she was eventually gonna like tell her, but her mother died before she could. Weird stuff like that, secret societies and all that kind of fun stuff. So I read the first 2 books in the trilogy, and this series is pretty much kind of like a giant metaphor for women finding escape with other women in a time of like female suppression. The series is like really pretty and atmospheric. If you like portal fantasies, this is that. I don't think a lot of these women are supposed to be likable. If you're looking for like a BFF in these books, you're not gonna get that. I mean, Gemma's like nice enough, but yeah, we're following women that are being forced into a boarding school because they're not like polite enough or whatever. So you know, it's been a while since I read the first and second book, and I don't want to just go into the finale without having like a fresh sense of what the story is about, so I don't mind doing a reread. I also have an arc for Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. It sounds like a sci fantasy series. From what I've heard, it is inspired by pre-Columbian indigenous groups like the Mayan, I want to say Toltec as well. I know we follow a cast of characters, a lot of them being really interesting. I think one of our main characters is blind, and I have heard that there's a lot of political intrigue, and it sounds like the romance is one of those I love you so much, please don't be a bad guy type romances, which sounds really angsty, and I'm all for that. I've also read Trail of Lightning, also by Rebecca Roanhorse, so I know that I can vibe with her writing. And the last book that I added to my TBR, I just added it this morning. I found out that the latest book in the Four Horsemen series was released by Laura Thalassa. This is a post-apocalyptic series. Each book we follow one of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. These are steamy, dark romances, smutty as well. The first book actually made me cry a lot, which is really surprising for like a smutty romance. I totally forgot that the book released today, October 1st, so I'm probably going to read that really soon, or at least this is going to be one of the books I'm probably going to angle to pick up sooner. I get through her books pretty quickly. So yeah, that's everything I have on my TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if you might want to pick up any of these. I will link all my socials down below. If you want to quickly get into contact with me, I would suggest talking to me through my Bookstagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.